Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back. I never realized how much of a science interior design was and is until now. And we're going to illustrate that, actually prove it with this lady who is our professional of the year, but goes a little bit deeper than that. I'll explain in just a moment. She's the owner and interior designer at Rooms by Sandy Decorating Den Interiors. Sandy Schuster is here. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you doing?
Fantastic. And I have to say, congratulations, not just on being our professional of the year, but for getting a certification in science and design. Didn't even know that existed.
I went to a workshop earlier this year and they talked about it, and it's very fascinating.
So when we say science being connected to it, I grasp philosophy. I grasp the psychological aspect of certain designs where that can make somebody feel a certain way. I'm not getting the science thing. I'm sure it runs deep. So tell us about that.
There's a new word called neuroaesthetics, and scientists have done studies on the brain and how it responds when we see things in nature. And they have all this technology now that's really cool, but when people look at a picture or a scene, they see that they're more attracted to look at things that are in nature, trees, landscapes, things of a natural shape. And it actually, I've done a lot of reading, and it's actually they say it's the trend for 2024, but according to this certification of the scientists and designers that taught this class, it's actually the design trend of the century. It's things that we're focused on, more of our biology and kind of where we came from and what pleases us.
Wow. Okay. So that's almost in line what I was referring to, but running deeper. So it's the psychology of design, how it makes us feel, I guess the neurotransmitters or neuroplasticity within our brains.
Right.
Wow. And it's one thing to design something for somebody and have a feel for what they might like, but another to know that it's backed up by science. So how do we apply that? Can you give us some examples? Go a little bit deeper on that?
Sure. I have some slides that I would love to show you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Love when we do this.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Sure.
Yeah, so I just completed it last Thursday and I got my certification. So, but anyway, let me kind of go into what we talked about in the class, just to give people an idea about it. But biophilic design is kind of what has resulted in this study of science. And why is it so popular? I found this chart, but it's a fast emerging field in neuroscience where it studies what happens to the brain when expressing and experiencing art in any form or shape. And so they've seen that the brain actually responds more to things in nature, kind of how I explained earlier. So it got really cerebral and really got into a lot of physics. Or scientists taught the class, but they actually talked about the fact that you can't have art without science, and you can't have science without art, which, normally we think they're two different tracks, but they're not. And actually, they found that it actually can lower our blood pressure, our heart rate, improve our engagement and attentiveness if we're around things that really are pleasing to the brain and those things that are in nature.
Wow. So can you give us another example of how this can support somebody and what they're feeling or what they're thinking?
Well, why don't I just show you some pictures of designs that I've done that incorporate biophilia.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and biophilia is not just about plants. This particular scene has plants in it, But let's say I took the plants out. The reclaimed wood on the fireplace is a natural, it's of nature. And so that could be what we would call biophilia, or biophilic design. And you sometimes the colors too, the green, but then also take out everything that's in the scene and look out the window. I didn't block the window here because you can see outside and see nature. And this is in Colorado, so in the wintertime, you don't have green leaves, but you can see the snow on the branches and you can just see the shapes of the branches. And actually the studies have shown that looking at nature and things like that really are pleasing to us, but also help reduce stress and improve our health.
Would you also say that what we're talking about is also about energy, where there's a certain amount of energy coming off of that reclaimed wood in the fireplace? There's a connection to nature.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
Our brains, another part of this was they talked about our brains, and our brains are very old. And so imagine the cavemen looking out of a cave, and they looked out and they saw the greenery and the landscape. But then they also had a place to be protected in their cave. So they say in
Sure.
design, you should give people a place to um to
To feel safe.
hide away and
Yeah.
and relax, but then also perspective.
Wow. So that, I mean, this just reinforces the importance of plants. And I talked to somebody recently who who said that it doesn't matter if it's not a live plant, just get a plant or a few.
Just the shapes. And yeah, that's a really good point. And that kind of lends itself to my next slide. This is Biophilia wallpaper. It has leaves on it and flowers and petals, but you don't see green in the design. So not everybody likes green. So it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be just about the
Wow.
color green.
I would have never even thought that. So you're getting the representation of it. And it doesn't even have to be realistic. The wood on the
Right.
fireplace is realistic, looks realistic, again, because it is, but here it's a representation of plants. Wow, that's interesting. Wow, extremely interesting, actually.
Right. Yeah, I think I've probably shown this before, but I purposely didn't cover up these windows with heavy draperies because of the view. Yeah, and this is another one. Notice the light fixture. It actually looks like a dandelion that where the seeds are getting ready to blow away.
Wow. Hmm.
There's actually some patterns of nature on the pillows. There's some on the draperies. But again, it's a whole different look than that first picture I showed you. So it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be about, it
something
doesn't have to be
woodsy.
about yeah, woodsy. Right.
Oh. So before you took this course and got the certification, did you all know about this? Did you suspect it and this just kind of backed it all up?
Exactly. The latter. I suspected it. And that's why I was so intrigued in taking the course, because I think innately I kind of knew that. I mean, being from Colorado, we have lots of outside nature views and mountains. Maybe that's why I live in Colorado. But it just
Hmm.
makes you feel more at peace and at ease when you're in nature. And I think intuitively it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us, and aside from the lighting fixture, what else is going in this room? What's going on in this room based on all of these principles?
Um, well, I guess everything that it coordinates together, and there's florals on the drapery.
Yes.
The pattern in the rug has some shapes in nature. Um, the curves on the furniture actually is another. I actually have some examples of some furniture and things as well.
And as you were starting to go through what's in the room there, my eyes went right to the rug, and I'm like, wait a minute, those are floral patterns. Okay.
Right.
But you know what's nice about it? It's not in your face floral. It's subtly
Right.
stated, uh, and for a reason. but it's getting it done and it's very attractive. It's
Right.
visually appealing.
Right. This was for a couple. So, um, yeah, not masculine, not feminine, but just kind of in the middle.
Sure.
This was another home that I put furnishings in, and this is they're kind of out in the mountains. But just the wood over here, the petrified wood is of
Mm,
nature. The color of kind of a light green in the sofa.
nice. I've seen that wood before, but I never knew it was called petrified wood.
I think that's what it is. Or maybe it's
Whatever.
not petrified, but it's old wood that has patinaed over time.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Right, right.
So nice.
So yeah, so it's just isn't about plants, but it's the shapes of nature. In fact, in my next slide here, you can find it in lighting. So again, you don't have to be a plant person to introduce some biophilia into your home. This looks like, I think, peacock feathers,
Hmm.
and this is a round shape, kind of looks kind of like ocean, like waves.
It really does now that you say that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And this is a chandelier up here that looks like tree branches. And then obviously you've got the vines with the florals in it. But that's another way to incorporate it. So you can see that they all look different, but overall, incorporating these kinds of designs into a room make it feel more peaceful and relaxing. And it goes back to our kind of our old brains that really like that. Here's another picture of what looks like raindrops.
Hmm.
So again, you don't see any plants in here, any green in here, but it just looks more natural.
I love it. Yeah, that is beautiful. And right away, I think of raindrops.
Mhm.
Hmm. Are there other tricks of the trade, so to speak, with biophilia that you do to invoke a certain mood, a certain feeling, a certain energy?
Well, it goes to like incorporating some of these things into the design, not just having square rectangles. Um, they talked a lot about in this course, the big high rises that are just all glass and steel. Um, um, they're not much to look at. They're not as pleasing and stimulating to the brain. And then they did a study where they actually put a big photograph of a garden on the building, and they saw that people looked at it more. So
Hmm.
yeah, just incorporating things into the design that's more pleasing instead of all your straight edges and well, here's another example of this amazing coffee table that's actually a
Oof.
tree trunk.
Wow.
I got some of these pictures from our markets that we go to. I think this is our Las Vegas market where designers can go and see the latest trends and see what, different furnishings and kind of what's happening. But you're seeing more of an organic feel and look in furnishings.
That is beautiful. And how many people would see that in the ground and say, "Oh, let's say some of the roots could start coming up. Oh, look at this. You know what? It just looks horrible here. And look what's been done to it." I would take that in a
Right,
second and put it in my living room.
right. I
Oof.
think it's pretty big size, but it comes in all different shapes and sizes. But again, it's that organic, natural feel that
Sure.
that we're attracted to and that makes us feel better. This is just this little coffee table has tree branches on it.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, now that you've seen this, you'll probably, when you look at things, you'll see like, oh, they incorporated biophilia into the design.
Oh, 100%. As a
Yeah,
matter of fact, looking at those two plants, it just makes me feel good. Like I'm looking at them like, wow, that is, of course, that you got balance, and of course they're not overly stated, but to me, those plants, everything is beautiful. Those plants are like the cherry on top of the cake.
but again, like the curved furniture, it's more kind of cocoon-like, so you can curl up in it. So that kind of brings you back to nature.
Mm. Hmm. Okay. Never thought of that.
Um, this kind of organic looking nesting coffee tables. It's another example of that kind of getting back to nature in our designs.
Which
So
I'm
yes,
seeing
I
more
would,
and more of. And
yeah,
now I know it's called nesting, but I've seen more, and I love the idea because I have, somebody bought me tray tables, and not stackable, gets the job done, but when I don't need to use them anymore, I've had to remove them from the living room because they're taking up space because they're not being used. But this is so functional and looks great at the same time.
right. It's a real organic shape.
Mm,
Oh, I found this picture of tile that's inspired by nature.
wow.
I think
Eh,
the next picture is a sink that's a lotus flower.
sure.
So again, all different styles and looks. So when I'm talking about biophilia, it doesn't have to be, the green and tan that you see in nature or blues, but you can incorporate all kinds of colors and designs using it.
So what's interesting to me here is that we look at these things and we might say to ourselves, I just like that. I don't know what it is. I really like the way that looks. But there's more going on behind the scenes of why we're connecting with it. And
Exactly.
it goes back to these principles. And does it all go back to nature?
It does. I mean, that's the premise of biophilia, biophilic design, the science and design certification is that that's kind of the way that we're hardwired. I mean,
Yeah,
architects as well are looking at it from how they're going to design a building, workplaces. Like, do you have places where they're just they look good and they feel good, so you can get more productivity out of your employees.
sure.
It's just it's really broad.
It is. It goes back to, and some people will say, oh, it's a little woo woo, but right back to nature and even just grounding yourself where it's been said, hug a tree and you will feel so much better.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
put the check mark there in a minute because I've done it. There's been sometimes I've walked outside and I'm looking at a tree. I'm like, I got to go over. I need you. I need you now. There's something there. There's something truly, truly grounding about being in nature and especially around a tree.
It's like when you see this beautiful landscape or outside, it kind of makes you take a deep breath. And taking a deep breath will calm you. It's just, yeah, there's definitely a connection there. And
Hmm.
the science has proved it. I guess that's another
Well,
cool thing
yes.
about
Yeah. So I'm gonna retract my woo-woo statement. Some people say that. Science proves it, people. There you go.
it. Yeah, yeah, it's proved. This is just
Hmm.
some different wallpapers that have a biophilia design to them, but also like area rugs, like this one in the middle. It's made out of natural fibers. So again, you don't have to have it doesn't have to be colorful and florally. And then this other rug in the middle is kind of like a sunset,
Hmm. Ocean.
um, ocean.
Yeah, this is so funny. This is
Yeah,
what do you see? So I see what you see. Could be a sunset, could be water, that could be part of some sandy beach. Could be clouds up there top.
right, right.
Hmm,
So again, I mean, it's what we're seeing in the design trends and makes people feel good.
totally.
Oh, here's the lighting is like shells. The
Uh,
natural rattan chairs, that's another element of the
sure.
biophilia.
Hmm,
Um, this looks like a wood. Um, I didn't do this picture, but it looks like little wood petals around this mirror
yeah.
that are really
Or
natural. The
or maybe
stone,
mussel shells. That's what I see from a distance.
it could be,
Hmm,
but there's just a lot of things that look very organic and again, a whole different look than what you would think. And you
Yep.
don't have to necessarily have plants in your scene.
Yeah. From the ceiling in that photo, from the ceiling to the wicker to the chandelier. Um, it's just a very earthy,
Very
comfortable feel.
earthy,
Yeah.
right? Right. Yeah, this is one of my
Hmm.
suppliers. Even my suppliers are showing more of the natural elements. Like look at these wood features here on the wall, the natural rattan lighting here, the
Hmm.
nice soft cocoon-like chairs that are rounded. I think this looks like a tree trunk as well, the coffee table.
I never considered those chairs and what you say, the softness, until you said it. And again, I believe it's one of those things you look at it and it resonates with you, but you don't know why. And there's science behind it.
Right, right. I think I just have a couple more, but this is just, obvious like floral pattern, but again, it's not it's just black and white, more like shadows of flowers. But then the color green on the wall, just a really simple, I think, palette.
Hmm.
This area rug it looks like an ocean or a river. So again, all different looks. I think
How
this is my last one. And again, really rounded furniture, soft features. This looks like raindrops over here in nature.
how do you know or how do you decide what elements to include in a design? Does it start with somebody telling you what they like and then you find it? Or let's say they're very basic. I want a little wood, not a lot. I want some color. I don't like that white look. I'm going hypothetical here. And
Yeah.
then do you incorporate some of those things that may support the way they want to feel? But based on science.
Exactly. And that's one question that I always ask. How do you want to feel in the space as
Hmm.
you're using it? Do you want to feel calm? Do you want to feel excited? So if you're excited, maybe I would have done a red area rug here with maybe yellow tones and that type of thing. But like in this picture, I didn't do this design, but maybe they started out with looks like the client wanted more of a neutral pattern that maybe started off with the area rug. I'd like to start with that, or maybe a piece of artwork. And then brought in some touches of gold, use grays, creams, and gold in here. Really, that's the only colors in here, but it
Yeah.
it goes together and it's real calming.
I'm not a big fan of gold, but you're right. It's very calming. Like I would be very comfortable in that room.
Yeah, it brought some balance too to kind of put it a little bit around the room.
Hmm. It's almost like
They
it's a
say
mix between gold and silver
yeah,
in that room.
yeah, we have silk metallics in there. Yeah.
Amazing. This again, this just backs up. I've been studying energy for some time now, and translated to the earth and grounding and all of that. My feet are on a grounding mat as we speak.
Hmm.
Um, that's connected to the ground lug on the outlet. Not even kidding. So this just backs up all of those principles. Um, but it's amazing how it comes back to science and why we like what
Right.
we like, and more importantly, why we feel a certain way. Um, Fascinating. How long did the course take you to complete?
Okay, there were 5 different modules, and in each module, there's probably, well, I would say about 5 hours each. So it's maybe a total of 25 to 30 hours. So I have to listen to the videos and watch the presentation, and then you have to take a quiz at the end. But it was really, so how long did it take? It took me a month, but I did it like a course at a time here and
Sure.
there. And, but it was a fun course to take. It wasn't like, it was very interesting, even though when the scientists would speak, it was very kind of complicated and things I hadn't studied, but they brought it all together
Hmm.
about us humans, the basic level of how we want to live and what makes us feel good.
I don't do interior design. I want to take that course because it's unique and it's interesting. Uh, this is just a
Yeah.
piece of what you do and what you offer. Sandy, how do we find you if somebody wants to learn more, connect with you?
You can see my website. It's roomsbysandy.decoratingden.com, or my email address is sschuster@decoratingden.com. Or you could call me, 720-885-0019.
Fascinating. This took interior design to a totally different level. And this is the science of why we feel the way we do in certain rooms, and actually can help support you and clients get what they really want, make it easier for you as well. Thank you for sharing that today, and congratulations on the certification.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.